Kenji had just arrived in New Zealand to start his studies. Everything felt unfamiliar. The people, the culture, even the way the wind blew. Back home he was confident and comfortable, but here, with limited English and no friends, he felt out of place. School was overwhelming, and small tasks like asking a question in class or finding the right bus stop suddenly seemed huge. That's when he met Liam. Friendly, easygoing, and always smiling, Liam noticed Kenji struggling and stepped in without hesitation. He introduced Kenji to classmates, helped him with assignments, and even taught him slang that textbooks never covered. Thanks to Liam's support, Kenji slowly began to feel like he belonged. The story is about how a simple act of kindness can make a world of difference and how friendship can cross languages and borders. One evening, Kenji received a phone call from home. His grandfather in Kyoto, the person who had raised him like a second father, was critically ill. The news hit him hard. Far from home and already struggling to adjust, Kenji found himself overwhelmed with worry and guilt. He couldn't focus in class, barely slept, and often isolated himself. His mind was filled with memories of his grandfather, tea on cold mornings, quiet advice, and stories from the past. Kenji quickly made plans to return to Japan over the New Year break, hoping to see his grandfather one last time. But 2 weeks before his flight, the call came. His grandfather had passed away. The loss shattered him. He hadn't even had the chance to say goodbye. The sense of helplessness and regret left Kenji feeling lost. It was the lowest point he had faced since arriving in New Zealand, and it tested him in ways he never expected. Seeing how broken Kenji was after his grandfather's death, Liam decided to help in the best way he knew through nature. He invited Kenji on a weekend trip to Abel Tasman Bay, a place known for its clear waters and golden beaches. At first, Kenji hesitated. He wasn't in the mood for anything, but Liam gently insisted, and eventually Kenji agreed. They set up camp by the water and spent the days hiking, diving, and watching the waves crash against the rocks. Something about the ocean brought Kenji back to himself. It reminded him of his grandfather, who had taken him snorkeling as a child and taught him to love the sea. Each splash and sunset felt like a quiet tribute. For the first time in weeks, Kenji smiled not out of habit, but because he meant it. That trip didn't erase the pain, but it helped him start to breathe again. Liam hadn't just offered a getaway, he had offered healing. While snorkeling in a clear, shallow part of the bay, Kenji suddenly felt the water shift. Before he could react, a massive great white shark, nearly 5 meters long, lunged at him from below. Chaos followed. The shark clamped down on his right leg, dragging him beneath the surface. Pain exploded through his body, but instinct kicked in. Kenji fought back with everything he had, punching and prying at the shark's mouth with his bare hands. Blood clouded the water, but he didn't stop. Somehow, through sheer will and adrenaline, he managed to force the shark to release him. He surfaced, gasping, his legs shredded, but his mind locked on survival. Liam, who had been nearby, rushed to pull him onto a kayak and called for help. The rescue was fast, but the damage was done. Kenji's right leg was nearly destroyed. It was a horrifying moment. Yet what stood out most was his courage. Even in the face of death, he refused to give up. Just as Kenji thought he was safe, the shark came back for a second strike. It surged from below, jaws wide. But this time it clamped down on his fin, the plastic diving fin on his foot, mistaking it for flesh. The water was red with blood from the first attack, and the shark's vision was blurred. That mistake saved Kenji's life. In that split second, he gathered what strength he had left and kicked hard, striking the shark in the head. The sudden blow startled it, and it backed off. Liam, who had been frantically paddling toward him, reached Kenji just in time. He grabbed him and pulled him onto the kayak, yelling for help as they rushed toward shore. Kenji was barely conscious, weak from blood loss, but alive. It was a narrow escape, seconds, and luck made the difference. That plastic fin, a kick, and a friend's quick action were the only things standing between him and death. On the shore, Liam didn't waste a second. He grabbed the tent cord from their gear and tied it tightly around Kenji's thigh, turning it into a makeshift tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Kenji was slipping in and out of consciousness, pale and shaking. Within minutes, a rescue helicopter arrived and airlifted him to a hospital in Wellington. The surgeons acted fast, but the damage was severe. Kenji's right leg couldn't be saved and had to be amputated below the knee. He also had deep gashes on his arms and back from the shark's teeth. The recovery was long and painful. Every movement hurt, and every mirror reminded him of what he had lost. But he was alive. Thanks to Liam's quick thinking and the rescue team's speed, Kenji had survived one of the deadliest predators on Earth. It wasn't just luck, it was grit, courage, and the bond of friendship that kept him going when everything else nearly stopped. Unknowingly, Kenji had been wearing a wrist-mounted camera during the dive. It captured everything: the attack, the struggle, the escape. After he stabilized in the hospital, the footage was posted online. Within hours, it went viral. People around the world watched in shock and awe as Kenji fought off a great white shark with nothing but his bare hands and sheer will. The response was overwhelming. Messages of support poured in and strangers reached out wanting to help. A community fund was quickly set up to cover Kenji's medical bills, the cost of a high-quality prosthetic leg, and travel expenses, so he could return to Japan for emotional recovery with his family. Donations came in from dozens of countries. What started as a moment of horror turned into a wave of kindness. Kenji's story had become more than a survival tale. It was a symbol of resilience and proof that even in the darkest moments, the world still has compassion to give. During the hardest moments, Kenji found strength in something deeper than pain belief. He truly felt that his grandfather's spirit had protected him that day in the water, guiding him through the chaos. It wasn't just a comforting thought, it became his anchor. A year after the attack, Kenji was still in recovery, both physically and emotionally. He went through daily therapy, learned to walk with a prosthetic, and slowly returned to the water, first in pools, then in open sea training. Step by step, he relearned how to dive. It was painful and frustrating at times, but he never gave up. His dream hadn't changed. He still wanted to become a marine scientist, only now with a new purpose to study the ocean, not just with curiosity, but with respect and experience. Kenji wasn't trying to forget what happened. He was learning to grow from it. The sea had once nearly taken his life. Now he was determined to return stronger, smarter, and fearless. Kenji's story is a powerful reminder that even in the face of tragedy, hope and strength can rise. What began as a personal loss turned into a life-threatening encounter, yet through courage, friendship, and the kindness of strangers, Kenji survived and found new purpose. His belief that his grandfather's spirit protected him gave him the will to fight, heal, and keep moving forward. The attack could have ended everything, but instead it sparked a deeper determination. Kenji's journey shows that pain doesn't have to define us. It can shape us into something stronger. With support, resilience, and belief, we can overcome even the darkest moments. And sometimes, the sea that nearly takes us is the same place we return to with greater purpose, humility, and strength.